This is an untold story, which is the reason that I wrote this book. The painful thing is कि West Pakistan में as a whole there was no knowledge or no even desire to find out what happened to the Pakistanis. हमें ऐसा लगा. It's very uncanny that the history of Pakistan is literally linked to the history of my family, because my parents they had been married for a week when they were sent to East Pakistan. So they arrived in 1947, literally, on the behest of the new Pakistan government, because my father was an engineer, a telecommunication engineer, and he was sent to East Pakistan to set up the system. So we grew up in a household where we would constantly see this tussle in my parents between bringing us up with a pakka Angrezi upbringing, and my mother saying कि no, we had enough of the British, we threw them out, and let us not adopt their means. It's our culture which is superior. My mother was a fantastic storyteller. She could, I mean, you can't imagine, if she had written, she would have written such dramatic stories. But she was they had this oral tradition, and she would sing, she would enact the roles, and we were so exposed. They exposed us to every facet of that makes life in a city. We have a very strong legacy in Bengal of not just coming there during partition, but also being the legacy of my children also includes their emphasis on the Bengali identity through language. I started in 2007 or 8. And I published it in 2012 in the States. Yeah, I started putting down everything that came to mind, all the memories, everything of my friends, of myself, of my relatives, of everything. And that was very, very painful, very, very painful, because I realized कि अच्छा ये भी हुआ था हमारे साथ और वो भी हुआ था हमारे साथ. उस वक्त तो फील नहीं किया ना. जब ये लिखना शुरू किया, then it was as if you were saying कि yes, I did experience this. Yes, I did experience homelessness. I experienced watching a man being beaten to death. I watched a woman give birth on the side of the street. Now these are all actual things we saw, So it was very, very painful, and because until then I was involved in the act of living. I finished my studies, I married, I had kids, and you get on with your life, na? And it was not cathartic, as if कि ठीक है, closure हो गया. नहीं, it reopened many wounds, which perhaps I could have done without, but I'm glad I put it down. So I wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote, and then when I read it through, I said, this is rubbish. I can't write. I don't know how to write. And then that's when I stopped writing and I started to read. And I started to read everything that I had loved reading. Classics like I read Dostoevsky, and I read Stendhal, and I read Proust. And, War and Peace. Can you imagine that thick book? But I kept on, while reading now, I was noting कि ये किस तरह से ड्रामा क्रिएट करते हैं, किस तरह से कॉन्वर्सेशन को लाते हैं, किस तरह से सीन चेंज करते हैं, कैरेक्टर्स को किस तरह मोल्ड करते हैं. तो आई वाज आल्सो लर्निंग. देन आई वेंट बैक टू राइटिंग अगेन, एंड दैट्स व्हेन आई सेड कि आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू पुट इट एज अ मेमोir, आई एम गोइंग टू पुट इट एज fiction, because in fiction I can bring in a lot of the other stories and make it part of that plot. And the surprising thing was while I was in New York, I met all these friends who I talk about in the book, because the largest number of Bangladeshis outside Bangladesh live in New York. So you sort of connect, and pata chalta idhar se udhar se. I reconnected with them. So this book also brought me in touch with all my past friends, and we had moved on, of course. There was no bitterness, but I realized that they did not know my story. Nothing, they had no knowledge. So when my book was published, I had all these friends who wrote to me and talked to me, and they said, please forgive us. We did not know this had happened. My audience were my 2 daughters. I wrote it for them as their legacy, that although they knew a lot about it from what we say and what Masood told them, and Masood's sisters and brothers and my sisters and brothers, but I thought I should explain in detail, so that they were my audience. And because they were my audience, I left out a lot of things. People like us who were Urdu speaking, we were put in camps. We were known as Pakistanis who had somehow collaborated, but we had not. A vast majority of us had not. But there were some who had become Razakars, who had sided with the army. And the killing of the intellectuals, which was the most egregious thing that could ever have happened. So that sort of broke any bond of sympathy that existed between the two, Bengali and non-Bengali. Now Masood, who later on he became my husband, his family was half Urdu speaking and half Bengali. They found out where they were keeping us. It was in an island far away. They had taken all the women, they had taken all the men to prison. And I've written in great details about this in the book. And we were rescued, and we could not have been rescued if it wasn't for Masood and his affiliations. And eventually then we informed the Red Cross, I informed the Red Cross कि ये हुआ है. The Red Cross had no inkling. The Red Cross were told that these are women who were raped by the Pakistan army, so we are taking them to a sanctuary. It was me, my mom and my sister Parveen. वो जो active dispossession था ना हमारा, जो we were taken out of our homes and we had nothing. I didn't even have my chappals on. I was barefoot to that extent, हम तो प्रिविलेज थे, मगर तुम सोचो कि उनके साथ क्या हुआ होगा जिनके पास कुछ नहीं था. तो जो डिस्पोजेशन का जो एक अमल था ना, जो हुआ था, बेदखली जिसको कहते हैं, टोटल बेदखली, कि वो घर तो आपका है ही नहीं, मुल्क भी आपका नहीं है, आपने ज़िंदगी वहीं पे स्टार्ट की, ज़िंदगी गुजारी, और वो कुछ भी आपका नहीं है. यू आर फिनिश्ड, यू आर गॉन. एंड आई रिमेंबर द बस राइड फ्रॉम वेयर वी लिव टू द कैंप. And it was all strange. I used to go take that route, but it was all strange to me, कि क्या हुआ. And that feeling of intense dispossession made Parveen so against dispossession and eviction. तो उसका जो जुनून होता था ना, जो चढ़ता था, वो उस वक्त होता था when she heard कि किसी को evict किया गया है. जैसे अभी जितने evictions हुए हैं ना कराची में, हम लोग उस दिन बात कर रहे थे कि अगर परवीन होती तो ये शायद कुछ ना कुछ हल निकलता इसका.